You know what it is. 16 a day from Oh, wait. This is the wrong video. This is Bro Bets. Error. Bro Media Production. You know what it is. Life of D Green in the house.
You
And
know
I'm
what it is,
Parlay
man.
Hunter.
You know what it is, man. It's Super Bowl week. It's here.
Let's go.
Man, let's talk a little bit about the recap, though, man. We did have a very wild AFC and NFC games. I will say some things, man. We were very prophetic, both me and you, last week on a lot of things. I don't know if the audience caught that, but there was a lot said that actually literally down to a T, step for step, bar for bar, play for play, step by step, were the exact thing that happened. I said the Chiefs were going into that game 17-7. Hey, the outcome didn't go into the favor. You said the Lions had a good running game with a dynamic duo. They went away from that in the second half. That pretty much cost them the game. Not the two drop passes from Josh Reynolds, which really did kind of make a factor, but not much. Then not to Dan Campbell going for it on fourth down. I just think, and we'll get into it, that they went away from their identity. But first of all, man, AFC Championship, the Kansas City Chiefs went in there. I want to get the final score. We know that the Chiefs won, obviously. Everybody knows that. But Kansas City Chiefs won 17-10, did not score in the second half. Ravens defense shut them out. Lamar, combined with John Harbaugh, combined with Tom Munkin, blew an egg. Absolutely. I didn't see it happening in this fashion. I did predict that the Chiefs would win and go to their sixth consecutive they've been to the AFC Championship six consecutive time, but their fourth appearance in the Super Bowl in the last 5 years. I did think they were going to win, but not in this fashion. What are your thoughts, starting with from the Ravens side, and what does this mean for Lamar's future?
Okay. Great setup. And yeah, back to what you said also about a lot of the things that we say on this podcast, we might not be 100% accurate, but we do say some things that happen, and it's kind of crazy. Like, I mean, and you did predict the Chiefs. Congrats to you. I did mention an under in this game. It was only 27 points. The under did hit. So we do say things, and I do have some people upset on me with the best bets of the day, not always cashing, but hey, I don't win every single bet. In fact, I just try to manipulate my money in a risk ratio fashion where I come out on top by the end of the month. That might not be the case for everybody, but this show, Life of D Green, I think we need to start calling you Money Green because your money is green.
New
I'm
name.
Parlay Hunter. You know what I mean? We just try
New
to talk
name, man.
we just try to do what we do. We know sports. And yeah, this game, you're right. Certain guys did not show up. Zay Flowers made a rookie mistake, and they're gonna, really get on him about that mistake. He did not lose them this game. Okay, where was everybody else showing up? Where was Rashad Bateman, man? Like, come on, like where are these other guys? Even Mark Andrews, if you're healthy, you're supposed to play. If you're not healthy, don't play. 2 catches, 15 yards. Like, no, you're Mark Andrews, third best tight end in the league. Lamar, everybody, I'm actually looking more at Harbaugh because look, yeah, Harbaugh, it's like his coaching job is untouchable. That's what they say. I don't think anybody is untouchable. And I think as good as you are, people get restless. They have Super Bowl expectations. And I do want to get your thoughts on Harbaugh. Maybe he's not on the hot seat exactly, but how many times is this going to happen until you are on the hot seat? Yeah, I mean, with the Ravens, it's kind of like this was your chance, this was your opportunity. And even Dan Campbell said for the Detroit, next year, it's going to be twice as hard to get back here. It's the same case for the Baltimore Ravens. It's going to be twice as hard next year. And I also want to ask you right now, is their offense, is that set up in 2024? Is it set up in 2025 to win a Super Bowl? Can that offense do, the way that they run things, you know what I mean? With the way that they make play calls, the way that they rely on their defense, is that a winning formula going into next year?
I mean, you said a lot of great things,
I
bro.
did. Can you also touch on Harbaugh?
Yeah. I mean, that's where I was gonna go. That's the angle I was gonna take, was that yeah, you can point fingers at the players, but you know me, bro. I pause. I start from the head down. Like I start. I know that was crazy, but I know people are gonna whatever, man. I get your head out the gutter. But I start from who is in authority, who's in charge, and the front office did their job by the general manager. He got a lot of flack, but he put together a great team this year, bringing in Odell, drafting who they drafted, Zay Flowers, Isaiah Likely, getting some pieces there. Even grabbing Dalvin Cook late in the season, I thought could have even been a help, and that's where I'm leading to. But then the next portion of authority goes from the front office and ownership to the coaches. That's where I think this game was lost. They got extremely outcoached in so many facets. One, from a game plan perspective, and then two, from keeping your team in a very great headspace. Like, there was too many penalties by the Ravens. There was like at least 4 or 5 personal fouls, roughing the passer, hitting Pat Mahomes in the head like a couple times. And it's like, that's discipline. And John Harbaugh usually keeps his team very disciplined minded. He comes from that. That's who he's been relatively most of his coaching career. So I was surprised of those two things, the game plan and the discipline, which led to a lot of emotional decisions and emotional failures. Zay Flowers, too big for the moment, taunting the guy. Now, was it taunting? Not exactly. I mean, he was getting up, having a big play, but in that moment, you're down 10 points, trying to get back in the game. Why? There's no need. If you're up and you're winning the game, I can kind of give you a little edge to that. But you're down. You're trying to win. You need to get in the best position to win. You got to know that. That's kind of a rookie mistake. Then, to the fumble he made right after that, getting him back in position. They're going in to score. He fumbles the ball. You can't have those type of turnovers. Let's not mention, I'm not just going to say Zay Flowers. Lamar's late interception. That was big. They still had a chance. You throw in the coverage with 3 guys there. Come on, Lamar. And then his fumble early on. Now, it's not his fault as offensive line. They had a subpar game, but you got to have those mistakes just can't happen in playoff football and going against a team like Kansas City. So I think it was a cultivated of coaching that led the players to play they were. You don't get it. Odell involved early, someone of leadership, someone you brought in for moments like this. Damn, Rashad Bateman, he's never been in the AFC Championship. Odell has won a Super Bowl. He knows what it is to be a consistent big player, to just make the catches. That's all you got to do. Like, I think if the Ravens would have went to and kept who they were, then going against who they were, like far as get the quick game going, quick slants, quick outs, working that with your run game, they would have been far better. But there was too many shots. You're trying to go air the ball out like you're Buffalo Bills or Kansas City themselves. Like, you can't play the game of the other team. And that's what Kansas City does great. And that's what I'll definitely get into this week when we talk about keys to winning in the Super Bowl. Kansas City has a great way of having teams play into the way they want them to, because they've been here in these moments. Travis Kelce getting guys to get, unsportsmanlike conducts in the AFC Championship, just savvy moves because of experience. And so from the experience of coaching and players that was lacked for the Ravens, that's what caused them to lose. It wasn't Lamar Jackson by himself. He didn't perform to the greatest ability. Now, should he still get MVP? Of course, because MVP is based on what you do in the regular season. He balled. He was the best player in the regular season. But it wasn't just him that caused them to lose. They went away, number one, from their run game. They were the number one running team and rushing team as far as attempts and yards in the whole NFL coming into this game. They only had 6 for 23 yards combined for all of their running backs. You can't do that. You can't make a team force you. You can't get bullied. And that's what they got. They got bullied as far as a game plan. They got scared. They weren't prepared, and it backfired. And credit to their defense that held Kansas City. Because imagine, if Kansas City, scored some, it could have been worse. Could have been way worse. Kansas City came out firing on all cylinders. Those first 2 touchdowns, one to Travis Kelce. I'm like, man, they got the momentum, they got the mindset, and that's kind of just ultimately why the Ravens lost. So, I mean, kudos and credit to the Kansas City Chiefs. They're the defending champions for a reason. They've been in this position, and just kudos to Andy Reid and what he does year in and year out to get guys to play at a high level. I think there's more of a storyline that we need to create is I feel like Andy Reid deserves to get in the conversations of Bill Belichick and the likings of Nick Saban. When we talk about greatest coaches of all time, when we finish this thing, Andy Reid is going to be up there somewhere. And I mean, he's done it not only with Kansas City, he's done it with Philly, and he's done it back then with Mike Holmgren in Green Bay. So where do we put him? I don't know. But from a perspective of an all-around great coach with an offensive mind to consistently come in and year out and get into championship games,
yeah,
you read second to none.
I agree with you completely. There's levels to this. Andy Reid is on one of the highest levels with the legendary coaches. Bill Belichick is the GOAT. And I agree with you completely. Jim Harbaugh is not up there with those guys. And in my opinion,
John Harbaugh
is not up there with those guys. I got to ask, so do you think, what would it take? Because obviously he's not going to get fired, but let's say they miss the playoffs next year. Does he, you know what I mean? I guess it depends on how the season goes, but how like the fans and the window for Lamar is always, it is short. It's short for everybody. Is there going to be anyone saying, hey, we're thinking about a new head coach? Do you think anyone's talking about that?
I mean, I think if they excuse me.
Because I also want to say, we cannot put this L. This L is not on Zay, and it's not on Lamar. Zay is the only one.
I'm not gonna say
100 yards and a touchdown.
Now I'm with Shannon Sharp. I agree. We get into this, and as a black man, I can speak on this. Now, this is a viewpoint that Parlay can't really necessarily speak on. He can try to have sympathy for it, but Shannon Sharp did a great analogy of, like, there's a difference between Pat Mahomes, the likings of Pat Mahomes, CJ Stroud, Caleb Williams of the world, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott's winning a Super Bowl, and then Lamar Jackson. He did an analogy versus a house Negro in a field Negro in slavery, and that being pushed to the marketing and the catalyst of what the NFL highlights. And it's always viewed that Pat Mahomes gets more praise and worship than Lamar Jackson. And I think that's what Lamar was fighting for. So from my perspective, to all the real people, and you know what word I want to say, and everybody that's always rooting for Lamar and, not holding him to the same standard of criticism that we give Pat Mahomes and slander and talk about this man's wife and all of this stuff, to hell with that shit. I'm with Shannon, and I agree, and I ain't no Uncle Tom. I'm a real dude. You got to hold Lamar to a certain standard. If he's doing it for the hood, if he's doing it for the city, and if he's doing it for all the underprivileged kids that look like him, he has to perform better. Pat Mahomes shows up every year, and he's speaking to a whole different audience of biracial kids. But if Lamar's doing it for the hood, then represent the hood. So I'm not saying he gets 100% of that loss, but his performance and his leadership were terrible. I don't think that he led them in the way that he should. You have to, this is my thing, Parlay. Great players know when to make adjustments. Lamar should have been early in that game said, hey, or even at halftime, we only got 6 rushing attempts. What are we doing? Our identity has been the run game. See, I always watched Lamar, and I've seen him like on the sidelines. And when I watch Pat Mahomes or all these other quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Joe Burrow and whoever, they're always on the tablet. They're always looking at it. Lamar just sits there. I've seen him rarely, his offense quarterback, I forgot T's name, but he used to play for Tennessee as a great quarterback coach. But he always has T Smart. He always has the laptop thing that they can go over and do the film. But I'm not discrediting Lamar to say that he doesn't have greatness and he's not a smart quarterback and he doesn't watch film. But it doesn't show in a sense of adjustments where, hey, I'm telling Harbaugh, we need to run the ball. Making those things. Pat Mahomes knows when he needs to take over the game or whatever is leading them to win. And so I don't want to, exaggerate this, but it's not fully on Lamar, but there's a part of Lamar, a large part, because this is going to be the dark cloud over him until he gets over the hump. So are we going to say, oh, it was Lamar Jackson if the Ravens win next year? Or was it a better game plan? No, it has to be a mix of both. So for me, Lamar has to play better and go into this offseason knowing I got to take leadership roles. I have all the physical tools. I have all the great weapons around me. But in key moment, my leadership lacks because of my experience.
Do you think he would be better off with a more quarterback friendly head coach?
I would not necessarily. I think John Harbaugh is good for who he is because this is my thing. This is the same thing what happened with Jared Goff. The Rams babied him. You know, if you remember, it was a fact about it. You know, Sean McVay would be, and you know how the quarterbacks have their headset in their helmet. Only the quarterbacks and the linebackers. They said Sean McVay would run the clock. He would tell Jared Goff what to do literally until he couldn't no more into the headset. So no, I don't think that's good for Lamar because that got Jared Goff out of LA and into a place where he's with Dan Campbell now, who lets him make those decisions for himself. I think for Lamar to be great and want to be in the catalyst of Super Bowl champion Hall of Fame quarterbacks, he has to take leadership. Leadership is not always by your play, which it does. Your play does speak large volumes of that, but leadership is also commanding, direction from the coaches from your perspective. I don't think Lamar does that enough. He does it when they need to go for it on 4th and goal or 4th and long, whatever, 4th down. But do you understand the game and how it adjusts during the game? The Chiefs were up 14-0. That doesn't mean you guys go and take 10,000 30-yard shots. Stay with your run game. And if at halftime you got 15, 18 rushes total amongst you and the running backs and maybe 50 yards, okay, how can we get a quick passing game going? Lamar hasn't been known to be dominant from the long ball, has he? What do we always talk about? Precision, accuracy, and he does a lot of his work from quick to middle level passing. So why are they taking shots, which is not his strength? He can do it. He can perform it, but that's not where he lives at. You get what I'm saying? You got to play in your hot spots. Kobe didn't go out there, trying to dunk the ball in his late 30s, late great Kobe Bryant. He got smart, understood how to shoot the ball better, playing angles. MJ did the same thing. LeBron's doing it now. It's the same thing with football. Peyton Manning took what the defense gave him when he got to the Broncos. He wasn't taking long shots, and that's the same thing for Tom Brady, who we say is the GOAT right now.
Well, before we move on, I just want to say it. When you practice, something all year, and then you get to the big game, and the most rushing yards by a player besides Lamar is Gus Edwards for 20 yards, and Lamar's rushing for 54. He's the highest rushing. It's like that is to me bad coaching, and in a low scoring game, they've been practicing the run stuff all year. And it's like we're picking apart the team that lost. To just go over to the Chiefs real quick. We talked about the fact that if they go to the Super Bowl and if they win, we were talking about this 2 weeks ago. We got to talk about this dynasty, and we got to start talking about how legendary the dynasty is and how young people still are and everything. And of course, you were just talking about Andy Reid and his legendary Hall of Fame coaching career. I just want to say, like with the Chiefs, the fact that they were able to change their identity this year, basically completely different than what it was last year and extremely different than what it was 2 years ago. And then to make it back to the Super Bowl, another feather in the cap of Andy Reid that, hey, I can do it this way or I can do it that way. And that defense was sticky and not a lot of huge names. I mean, but the safety in the corner, Duffy, I think his name is, and Sneed, Ladarius, and making huge plays.
Drew Tronquil. They got Drew Tronquil from the Chargers last year.
Yeah, and these names will be household names for people who watch football next year now. And, they weren't names that you would know, at the beginning of the year. So you're really turning players into stars. Just really commendable. And then Travis Kelce, really 100 yards, tight end really just kind of, it's going to be a battle of tight ends in the Super Bowl.
Go ahead, finish your thought. No, finish
Yeah,
your
yeah. No, I just want to. That's really all I want to say about the Chiefs. They played great, great defense.
Yeah, we can't be dismised even as we're trying to be professional and create our content here on our show, man. Travis Kelce, we gotta always highlight when records are broke. He broke Jerry Rice's total reception in the playoffs at 152 receptions. He was 11 receptions for 11 targets. Let's put
Crazy.
all the quiet. Let's rest all the quiet of the Swifties. Obviously, he's not being distracted. I think he's going to come in, be prepared. The thing that I love, and I just mentioned leadership, him and Pat Mahomes, they cultivated what leadership is. They didn't get big of the moment. They understood they've been here before. They knew what it was. They adjusted in the second half. If you notice, they ran the ball a lot more in the second half, controlled the clock with the run game, took what the defense get them. They didn't need to take any big plays. I think Kelce probably had his last 3 receptions were only a total of maybe 20 yards. So it's like they understood when and where to get the ball to. And I think that's going to hold a lot going into this Super Bowl, man. I don't want to dive into it yet because I know we got a lot of big moments this week to talk about it. But I think I said this when I called you and I texted you when we talked this week. Patrick Mahomes will go down as the greatest quarterback ever. It's all said and done. He's under, and I believe, let me make sure.
We can't say that. Come on, Brady. Come on, Brady just retired.
He's 28. He has 2 Super Bowls, 2 MVPs, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, and he's going for his 3rd in 7 years, 6 straight AFC championships.
I know why. I know why
I'm just saying he's 28. If he gets 3 at 28, Brady at 30 only had 3. That means Mahomes has 2 more years to get 2 more.
How you finish,
and that puts him at 5 at 30. If he gets to 4 at 30, that's all I want to say.
We'll see.
Stats and physical tools are way better than Brady. We know that.
Well, so is Dan Marino.
But Dan Marino's physical tools aren't better than Mahomes.
They're pretty dang good.
Dan Marino never ran the ball. And it's not about being fast. Pat Mahomes, I forgot who said it. I think they were saying Bill Walsh said it. It was on NFL Live. Mobility from a quarterback is not about how fast a guy can run. Yes, we have once-in-a-lifetime generational athletes like Lamar and Michael Vick of this world and certain even other quarterbacks who could scramble, Randall Cunningham. But it's not about you got to be the fastest guy or rush for 100 yards. Mobility just means that they have to account for that in the game plan. And this dude has that. Dan Marino didn't fucking – we didn't worry about if he could run or not.
Dan Marino was slicing.
Damn sure didn't worry about if –
Last I checked, quarterbacks throw the ball. They don't run the ball. They throw the ball.
So much. Okay, if we want, you want to do this shit. You want to play games with me. This is what we're not gonna do. All right. If you want to talk about throwing the ball, Pat Mahomes has already had 28,000 yards. He already has over 219 touchdowns. You
want to do this? You want to do this? Should we get up Dan Marino's stats?
Yeah, do Dan Marino stats and see how many years he played in the league.
All right, 61,000 yards.
Okay.
13
61,000?
61,000 yards.
Yep.
13 seasons, 9 Pro Bowls, 17 seasons.
How many touchdowns?
420 touchdowns.
420 touchdowns?
Yeah.
And you said 61,000 yards?
Yeah.
Pat Mahomes in 17 years?
Yeah.
Pat Mahomes has 28,000 yards in 7 years, 219 touchdowns in 7 years.
Okay, so
that's half of the touchdowns.
Dan Marino is literally right on track. He's right on track with Dan Marino.
He surpassed it, Parlay.
No, he hasn't. He has half. You just said he's got 30,000 yards.
He's got 200 touchdowns. He's got 28,000. If you do that times 2, which would be 7, another 7, he had 56,000 yards. So that's 14. He has way more touchdowns. You said 420 on the touchdowns?
Yeah.
He had 438. He'd surpass him.
First of all, we won't know for the next 7 years.
We won't. But
so anyway,
trajectory he's on, I'm just trying to tell you.
Yeah.
It's
Mahomes 1, Brady 2nd, Marino 3, maybe.
So it's a lot, man. And we'll talk more. We'll bring this discussion back up sometime this week.
But Brady is still the GOAT.
Brady is still the GOAT, but that's the biggest storyline for me, far as from the AFC side, was the debacle from the leadership of the Ravens coaching to Lamar. But from the Chiefs side, Steve Spagnuolo and what he's doing, Andy Reid and what he's doing, Travis Kelce breaking Jerry Rice's record, but Patty Mahomes, to me, the biggest thing is, my biggest statement taken away and take is, he going to be the greatest quarterback ever. And that's what it is. So we'll spin it from that to Mr. Irrelevant in the NFC Championship, coming back from a 24-7 deficit, coming back from 17 down at half. Brock Purdy leads the San Francisco 49ers back to another Super Bowl appearance, second one in 5 years, in a rematch versus the Kansas City Chiefs in 2019, I believe it was, where the Chiefs defeated the 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo, had a couple bad plays in that, could have swung the game. San Fran could have won. Kyle Shanahan still looking for his first championship as a head coach. Man, I thought Detroit had this game. You said something that I want to, let the audience relive about Detroit's running game, and it really showed. I don't know why they went away from it. They were 29 for 182 and 3 fucking rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
I don't know why they went away from it in the second half like they did. They could have easily had 250 rushing yards.
Yeah. Yeah, they were throwing it in the second half, and they didn't really need to. And they were trying to keep the pressure on. I really thought when Gibbs fumbled, I was like, oh, that was, to me, the turning point. It might have been a different point for you, but yeah, that game was very kind of similar to the Packer game. I felt like they rely a lot on Christian McCaffrey throughout the whole game, and what he can do is basically make sure that your offense is keeping the defense honest and the whole time, and with on top of that, getting yardage down the field. I don't know if that game plan is going to change for the Super Bowl. We won't get into the Super Bowl, but I just think that, to rely on McCaffrey to run the ball, keep the defense honest, and then you scrape away the win at the end, winning in very similar fashions. What I'm really interested to see is this defensive line. How will the rest, help them get off and go and pause, but how they will get going and be fast. And Chase Young, that's my dark horse MVP. What's he gonna do? But yeah, no, but you got to think, these guys, they got the craziest roster up to down, defensive wise, they have to have that game that shows hey, all this money is worth it. And this front seven that all this money we put into our front seven, it was worth it. Because right now, that front seven is suspect. Their defense actually, if you look at it, watch them, and you didn't know the names of the players on that side, you wouldn't really be too worried about the defense. You wouldn't even be thinking, these guys are number 1, number 2 defense in the league. But the names on that roster would say otherwise. So, yeah, that game, Purdy, McCaffrey, they scraped away. They got it out at the end. I don't think that their journey to the Super Bowl was as hard as the Chiefs was. I think that it was.
They made it. They made it hard. But I agree.
They made it hard. Yeah, they made it hard. Pause. But if you want to.
No, finish your thought, bro.
Yeah. I think these game plans, I really can't get my mind off of the Super Bowl right now. I'm sorry, but I just think that this time for Purdy to make the game plan is going to be really important for this offense, because it kind of seems like they haven't had enough time, or their offense really hasn't. There was a point in the season where Purdy was MVP favorite. Remember that? Purdy was the MVP favorite at week 8. And I was kind of shocked. And, because really realistically, that team runs behind CMC, Christian McCaffrey. He's really the bell cow. Without him, that I can't imagine that offense getting anything going. But But yeah, I just think that these few weeks for Purdy are we'll see. Are they gonna come up with a great game plan so that Purdy can have at least 250 yards and not turn the ball over? That would be very, very important for them. Because I don't expect Purdy to outplay Mahomes. Of course not. I don't expect that at all. So I think that they'll have to come up with a great game plan.
Yeah. I mean, to just talk more about the game and dissect the NFC Championship, what we said, and I'll go back to the running game again. We 29 for 182 and 3 touchdowns. The Ravens didn't run the ball good. You talk about the front seven of the 49ers. This has to be something that they get intact, because I feel like if they let somebody like Pacheco get going, he had 24 rushes for 68 against the Ravens, who have a way better rush defense. He's for sure. I'll give you guys a quick bet today, and I wasn't trying to go this way. I think the line opened up for him at 75. He's for sure going to go over 75. He's for sure going to go over 75.
It's a high number.
He had 24 rushes, though, for 68. David Montgomery had 15 for 93, and he's faster than David Montgomery. He might take one to the crib if he gets loose. And David Montgomery was looking very shifty, and so was Jahmyr Gibbs. But I'm saying David Montgomery has some very more enticing runs. And so I think that's a big thing to look at as a keynote. And just in general, when I look at the offensive side for the 49ers, you're right. Everything runs between Christian McCaffrey, 20 for 90 for 2 touchdowns in this game. Brock Purdy, 20 for 31, 267. A lot of that came in the second half. That interception. He does certain things, bro, certain moments. And I tell you this again, I think what's important here to note, Parlay, is you have a great coach who's disciplined, who's somebody like Kyle Shanahan, who knows Andy Reid well. I don't think he worked under him before. He maybe, but obviously Mike Shanahan, his dad, Kyle's dad, coaching against Andy and maybe even coaching with Andy. Kyle is trying to shape the 49ers into that same type of team where they're disciplined. They don't make a lot of penalties. They don't make a lot of self-mistakes. But when you have a quarterback who lacks the experience, I'm not going to be surprised if Brock Purdy throws an interception. I'm not going to be surprised if he can't get the passing game going. But even more so, like I've told you, if you get into any situation, you said the relevancy of the 49ers this year was they put themselves in a position in both two games to get them to the Super Bowl. If that is the Chiefs, as if it was the Green Bay Packers or the Detroit Lions, there's no hope for the 49ers. Because Steve Spagnuolo, we're not giving enough credit to, is going to have a game plan for this young dude. He's going to send pressure, similar to what he did to Jalen Hurts last year. He's going to say, hey, man, you're going to beat us. You're going to have to beat us. And he does have great weapons in Debo and Ayuk and George Kittle, who was lackluster this last game. So I think he'll definitely have a better game. You'll see more involvement from George Kittle. I think what Kansas City will focus it on, and what a good matchup for me that I will see is, are they going to put, I wonder if they're going to put Trent McDuffie on Debo or Ayuk. That's going to be, or are they going to put L'Jarius Sneed on Ayuk, being that he's on the outside? So those are going to be interesting matchups there. But I also know is they get Willie Gay back, who's a great will linebacker that spies the quarterback, that can get at the quarterback. Speed. They get speed with him and Nick Bolton at linebacker. Then you have big Chris Jones. You got George Karnofskis. The one other rusher, I can't pronounce his name, he got hurt. He got the sack fumble in the last game. He won't play this week. So other guys will rally behind it. So for me, I don't think that Christian McCaffrey won't, get his. He going to eat like he always does. But it's going to start and it's going to finish with what type of game plan Kyle Shanahan gives for Brock Purdy and how well does Brock Purdy execute. And I think that this is going to be the toughest task thus far, because similar to both of these defense really having maybe one or two guys that we can really say are all pros: Chris Jones, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa. Other than that, there's nobody, it's both no-name defenses, But if you want to say who's playing better in the playoffs, as far as from a defense perspective, from the naked eye, you have to say the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm not just biasly saying that. They haven't caused a lot of big plays. They haven't been down by a 17-point deficit, haven't been down by a 10-point deficit. You know, most of all the games, they were either leading or they were trailing by 3 or less. So San Francisco putting themselves in position to start slow from a defense perspective is going to cost them if they get into this with the Kansas City Chiefs. This is not a game you want to go down 17 points at halftime to. And that's all I'm going to say is it's going to matter about their defense and where you can't make Brock Purdy put on the Superman cape because he tries that against Pat Mahomes. He met his match. All I'm going to say.
Such an important year for the 49ers. Like it's always like the bridesmaid, never the bride. Like I think that these guys got to be feeling the pressure, especially Kittle. You know, this is like one of the, you know, end of the career of Kittle. So like I do believe that you know, I mean, I'm definitely going to be thinking about George Kittle in this game, like how important this is for him to win this game and for his career, you know, to have that for his possible Hall of Fame ballot. Also, just real quick with the Lions, coming back to this next year is going to be, you know, Dan said it's going to be twice as hard next year. And I do believe that as well. Their defense, you know, their offense is very electrifying, a lot of great players. The defense falls short on that side, and they never had a solid group, a strong run defense, you know, and that's kind of the thing that I always thought would carry you to a Super Bowl as a strong run defense. And they never really had that. They almost got there too. So I just don't know if I can see the Lions in that division with how good Jordan Love looked. And, you know, with the people that he had on his team, they're going to get better because they're going to draft some good receivers and players. The Vikings always have a core four on offense, and their defense can, you know, the culture is defense, so they could come back. And you know, so I mean, I don't know what's in store for the Lions, but you know, it's going to be hard for them to get back. And I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, you know, what happens and stuff. I mean, really kind of sad. I feel like everybody was really pulling for them in that game in America because the Detroit Lions, you know, how badly, you know, they want to get a Super Bowl in Detroit. So that was, yeah.
Yeah. No,
And I just also want to ask you real quick, can I just get a prediction because you said Pacheco 75 yards. What's your prediction on Christian McCaffrey? Obviously more focus on Christian McCaffrey, but can I off the whim, can I just get an over on your prediction?
I mean, let me just go to Prize Picks then to see what they got his line at. I think that Christian's at 90.
Tie.
Yeah, it's very high.
Very high. And you have to think they have to give him the ball in this game. He has to be the focal point.
But two, it's like he can hit a home run ball though too. Pause. He can really go like he can take one for 80. And so my thing is it can be a situation of that. So right now I'll lean. I'm not gonna give a final prediction. I gotta get more into the stats, get in more into my game plan. We have a big week ahead, Super Bowl week. I'll get more you know, some expert and analyst expertise for you, but I would lean right now. Yes, I think he can get 90 just because I think he has the capabilities of taking one to the house from 80, 75, which adds his total up quickly. And I think that he could have that in a game like this because it could just be just a perfect display of blocking. Now, let's not get it twisted. The 49ers have great offensive line. They have Trent Williams, you know, but their offensive line has been kind of shitty at times. But McCaffrey has that ability too. He's not a running back that, you know, goes down easily. He can break tackles. He can make a guy miss. He can make a couple guys miss. So right now I would lean over the 90. And looking at the last 5 games, he went 90, 98, 64, 103, and 115. So just based off of that, yeah, I think right now he's in a groove. Even without it just being Super Bowl mentality, he's in a groove to be able to carry 15, 16 attempts a game and things like
Yeah.
that. So
I was going to say, like, I was going to say it's such a high number. There's no value. But when you list off all those games where he basically gets 100 yards, I guess there is value. I guess that is his standard. And I mean, that's something where I'm going to be thinking from a parlay perspective, it's a high number. So maybe you don't want to just go straight bet on it. But that offense has to give him the ball. He has to touch the ball. Pause. It has to be basically the focal point of the offense. So it's going to be, I think a good Christian McCaffrey game in that Super Bowl.
I just think, just like a final thought on this last game taken away, which is similar to the next game. I think you can't get away from who you are. I think a lot of people from First Take to Undisputed to NFL Live, NFL Network, those are the similar themes of this Super Bowl, not getting away from who you are. You can't get away from who you are in the big games. And I think even for 49ers, like the way he doesn't get 90 yards, if they believe that they get in a track meet with Patrick Mahomes, I think that's where you ultimately lose the game. I've seen this story literally last year. You were going with the Chiefs. I obviously had ties. You got ties, but I had ties to the Eagles, and I thought they had the front seven. We're saying the same thing about the 49ers.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
That's all I'm going to say, man. That's really all I'm going to say, and it's going to transition me right into Super Bowl Sunday, February 11th. It's going down 5:30 p.m. The opening line is 49ers minus 1.5. The over-under.
Coming down. Coming down.
Opened up at minus 2.5. Over-under is 47.5. That has stayed.
I hope it's even by Sunday.
It's even on the over-under right now. There's no plus money for the Chiefs anymore. Well, there is plus money, plus 105 on the money line. Yeah. But I think right now, just glimpsing at it, like I said, these are early predictions, folks. Please don't get out of hand with this. Me and Parlay are definitely going to speak more to a lot of things of how we see it. But the over-under jumps out at me, and I think it goes under. I just think similar fashion to what that Green Bay 49er game mixed with that Ravens and Chiefs game. I think you'll see those type of mixtures where it's teams are going to try to stick to the run to control the game. There will be big plays made, but more so, I think defenses will get both each other in positions of third and medium, third and long, to where it could be a slower first quarter for sure, rather than what we had last year in the Super Bowl. It was a track meet from the beginning. I don't see it this way. I think you have way better head coaches going against each other. Not to mention you had Andy Reid last year, but I'm saying Kyle Shanahan is a way better coach than Nick Sirianni. He's been here for a while. So I don't think it's going to be a track meet per se, but there will be some things. But I right now, just glimpsing at it, I like the under 47.5.
Yeah, I like that take. And, those numbers are tough to decide on. I'm going to be, when it comes to this kind of stuff, I'll be looking at player props. I'll probably looking at a Kittle just because I know how important it's going to be for him. But I think that, it's important to everybody. I just think that, I try to look for motivation stuff. And but this over under 47.5, it's a hard number to choose from. I would lean towards the under with you. Both solid defenses. I think the 49ers defense, it's like this needs to be like their kind of if they're on a down slope, now they need to get back up on an up slope. And it's so important for them to get that front seven going, but it doesn't mean that's necessarily going to happen. But then another factor is the run game drains the clock. And I do believe that McCaffrey is going to be, draining the clock, running the ball. And the same thing could happen with Kansas City and Pacheco, being that is their identity this year. Making a pick, I probably lean 49ers. Well, I was, but, I can't do it right now. I really can't. It's just, and I don't want to doubt Mahomes. It's just if I was to take a 49er side, I would just say that they they have everything that you're supposed to have. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to win the big game, but they are solid everywhere except for maybe the defensive backfield, like the safeties. But I mean, everywhere else, they're so solid. Debo and, Ayuk and Kittle and even Purdy. Purdy is a good quarterback. I mean, he was the MVP favorite at one point. I don't know if he's top five. I don't think he's top five, but I think that he's a really good quarterback, very solid. So yeah, it's gonna be a great game.
I think obviously major other issues. I'm looking at the injury report right now. Key thing for the Chiefs, Joe Tooney comes back, guard. That is a major piece. It's probably going to get spoke about sometime this week. Obviously, just for the run game perspective, if you can get a healthy, rested O-line, like you said, he was coming back off a pectoral injury. I think that plays a major part. I think it's the chemistry. We talk about O-line why is it so important? It's important because these guys play and mesh and have chemistry with each other to understand each other's strengths and weaknesses. And like I said again, if they can get Isaiah Pacheco going and get him some rest, he was banging up with a couple of injuries. I think now him getting 2 weeks off, going to warm Las Vegas where they're used to playing because that's in their division, so they know this field pretty well. Like all these things, man, I just take it back to what my dad taught us about playing sports and understanding from the field or the basketball court to where you're at, understanding the wind and all of this shit, man, it's going to matter at some point. And so they got him, Willie Gay's full participant, Sky Moore's back at receiver, who scored a touchdown last year. Now, the interesting thing we both seen while we were watching this game, Kadarius Toney had tweeted something about he wasn't injured, went live, which is goofy. I agree with somebody like, dude, you're gonna get cut at the end of this year. Now, do the Chiefs still have value in you because you had a great punt return and a touchdown last year? Like I told you right after this game, all you need is your best players to play best in one game, one night only. I take it back to Seattle Seahawks when they won their first Super Bowl. Percy Harvin was traded from the Vikings to them. Percy Harvin played 2 games for Seattle that year. I believe either it was the Super Bowl or a game before. It was the Super Bowl game, I think, was his 3rd game, I believe. Whatever. He came in, huge impact. Punt return, kick return to punt return after the second half. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yes. The similar thing here with Kadarius Toney. Now, yes, you've made comments and all of this, but Andy Reid being Andy Reid, he's trying to win. I could care less, dude. I just need you to play and play at your highest level. Now, you come out there, you start bullshitting, you drop a couple passes. Yeah, whatever. We get you back out. But if you can make a play or two on punt return and you can make a couple plays in the passing game that will help us spark the team, I think all hands on deck. And I think that's what Andy Reid does great. And I think I wouldn't be surprised. Like I keep telling you, man, wouldn't be surprised if he motivates those guys, Sky Moore. Marquez Valdes-Scantling had a big reception late in the game in the AFC Championship. Kadarius Toney, Rashee Rice. They got guys. Mecole Hardman won the first championship with him. He's back on this team. So you got to get these guys who are blazers. That's what we're talking about a lot. Kansas City has some fast guys at the receiving group.
And we didn't really touch on Rashee Rice enough. I mean, that guy really puts them over the edge. Rice does. I mean, I think that, now you have a guy who, a number 1 wide receiver. I mean, he definitely does things that, a lot of all those other guys weren't doing before he got there.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, bro. So for me, it's a evenly weapon matchup. When I look at both offenses at full go without injury, it's evenly matched up. So I think, man, there's going to be more things that we unwind as time goes on, man. We're just to the open tonight, man. I mean, the teams both, I'm just watching ESPN right now. Teams are both arriving today, opening night tomorrow with the media. And, before you know it, we'll be sitting here next week. It's time to go, man. I'm gonna be very juiced and amped up and ready to go, man. But no, without question, man, this is a very exciting Super Bowl to get ready for and interesting to say the least, but even more to pivot into our next topic, man. You being an artist, being a music guru, you being historic. This is going to be one of my favorite halftime shows, man. They got to me, I would say this: our generation of the king of R&B. I grew up on this dude. It's 7 o'clock on the dot. I'm in my drop top, cruising the streets. I told somebody, I said, if he don't play that, I don't care about no. I don't care about no. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Man, if he don't play, I got a really, 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 really little pretty thing waiting for me. Pulled up, anticipating. Come on, man. You know I know that. That's that.
Yeah.
That boy
No,
Usher Raymond, man.
I need Burn, and I need him to be dancing in the rain. I need fake rain, and I need him to dance in the rain.
Hey,
That would really be great. And
hey,
yeah, dude, I mean, I wouldn't call myself a
what's your over under on cameos in this? Extreme
Ooh,
legendary cameos. What do you think?
yeah.
Half over under 3.5?
Oh, 3.5. That's a good number. I think under 3. I think it goes under 3. And I think it's under 3.5. I mean, I think it's 3.
I think it's over. I feel like you gotta bring, and I'm just speaking to pop culture because Usher is a pop and an R&B artist. You have to bring Little John out because to white folks that is important. No offense, I'm just saying. White folks don't. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They think Little John is Little Wayne. So to certain white folks, so you have to bring Little John out. I think Ludacris is another pop culture guy. Luda, who's underrated lyrically. I think Luda's on that track too. So you have to bring those two out for sure. But then just knowing Usher, bro, Usher, a lot of music for the ladies, R&B. You have to bring in some sorts whoever he did a track with, like, I don't know. I can't go back to his greatest hits, but yeah, man, like I think it goes over 3.5. I think you get some legendary old school artists too, maybe Charlie Wilson. I don't know. I don't know who you get, but I think, bro, being that it's in Vegas, Usher has residency in Vegas, I just was out there this summer. I didn't get to go to a show because it was over with, but Usher is gonna, yeah, bro. This is gonna be for sure another great one. NFL recently, man, we got to give our props. You guys have made up some ground. I wasn't very super enthused with Rihanna last year, but more so the year before that, with Aaron Donald and them winning. I love the West Coast connection, Snoop, 50, M, Dre, everybody. I definitely pay respect to that. So NFL is definitely getting it right. I think this is some of our reparations as Black people. They've chosen to just go and delegate the Black committee for a lot of these recent Super Bowl appearances. Now, don't go do some bullshit and you go and get all these people, and then next year y'all go get Billy English. No offense to Billy English. Don't nobody in fucking football who watch football. Football's a man sport. Remember that. And it's what the players in the audience listen to. Don't go get some bullshit is what I'm saying. So, no, I definitely think I wanted to spread light on that. It's entertainment, and we look forward to it. Do you look forward to any commercials?
Well deserved for Usher.
Yeah.
Now, I think that with commercials,
I mean, Bills usually does pretty good. I mean, there's always one every year that will surprise you. I don't know who that will be this year, but there's always someone that does good,
Probably, yeah. Well, yeah. There's gonna be some good commercials. The chips are always the good. The you know what I mean. The chips ones are always good. Doritos, the Coca-Colas, the McDonald's, the one where they always have all the football players like chasing each other.
Yes,
the legendary one. That one's always that's tough. Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. I mean, they gotta outdo themselves though, because it's like the biggest show of the year. Like they gotta keep topping what they did last year. So I mean, it will be interesting. I mean, this is it's in Vegas too. Like all that money that they got going on with Vegas now, obviously with the sports betting and the new team, the NFL is very, they're making a lot of money in Vegas. So I expect a good show, and if it's not a good show, we'll definitely talk about it and we will criticize it.
Oh yeah, I think Vegas needed this. It's rare to say that Vegas needed this Super Bowl, but they need it. I've recently been to Vegas a couple times in the last couple years. We still got to get Parlay out there, man. We got to get Parlay out there, man. Vegas is definitely one of.
I mean, I got to. I mean, if I go though, you know what I mean. You don't want to. You don't want to. What happens in Vegas stays in
Oh,
Vegas.
no. And I will speak to this honestly now. And I'm not going to tell on myself completely, but this Las Vegas trip, definitely to say to say the least, bro. Some very off record conversations, but it's real. No, that is real. But I'm saying they needed it because when I went out to Vegas, Vegas was getting hit for a lot of cyber attacks, people shutting down the casinos. I don't know if you remember that early fall. They were going through some shit where the casinos weren't even working or they were down. So financially, they've been taking a hit a little bit. But I think there will definitely be a very strong wave of people coming through, probably even right now, this whole week in Vegas, where a lot of people be important. I know Floyd's strip club will probably be popping this week, man. It very be lit, man. Very good time. Me and Parlay. One day we'll get there, have our own booth and things, and they'll have us sit next to Ocho and Unc and have some
Pop
great
out.
conversations and things.
We'll have a podcast. We'll have a
Yeah,
sports.
man. Go
Yeah.
out
No,
there,
I think that also you got to be careful in Vegas, and you got the big game this week, and you got all this media stuff. Those guys, the younger guys
Yeah,
especially,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like you got to stay focused. You can't go out and stuff like that. We'll be interested to hear if there's any stories that come out of guys partying and stuff like that throughout the week. Don't go on any boat trips. Don't go.
And to say again, who does that lean to? And we've seen this story before. Tom Brady, New England Patriots. It leans to the team of experience. So who's the team of experience in this situation? Kansas City Chiefs, man. I think those guys understand. It's the leadership. And I'm not to say that 49ers guys don't remember. They had guys. Debo was there. Fred Warner was there. I don't believe was there. Nick Bosa was there, I believe. Certain guys were there.
But to argue your point, the 49ers are more used to this stuff than Kansas City. I mean, the Bay is a lot more lit than Kansas City. They deal with it on a regular basis.
I'll agree with you. They're gonna, and I think this is even more important to say too. It's the Super Bowl, and we usually never talk about this because the Super Bowl, it doesn't matter. Super Bowl, they try to give people tickets to go to the Super Bowl. But the San Francisco faithful, they will be there. I know.
Oh yeah, that's true. They'll probably.
I know that.
Now
Kansas City will have fans there too, but being that it's in Las Vegas, closer to the West Coast, like San Francisco will. I've been to an Arizona Cardinals and San Francisco game this year. Crazy. They will be there. They will be.
It's going to be a home game for them, I think.
Yes, for sure. So no, you're right again, man. Everything this week for both of these teams, and I'll close about the game right now. Not our show, but about the game. Everything this week is about details and execution and discipline. And it starts now. These teams are now, comfortably in their hotels probably. And I wonder, and I would believe that they would stay off the strip. I would. I think both teams would definitely do that. Not saying that guys don't have access. Vegas is literally the strip and then a whole different off the strip is just a regular city. Las Vegas is a regular city. And so for me, if I'm Andy Reid, I'm keeping these guys far away from the strip as possible until the game day, because obviously the Allegiant Stadium is on the strip. But I would not be having these guys nowhere near that this whole week outside the press and everything like that. I know guys got families coming down and everything's like that. That's cool. But even to that degree on a little bit of Unc and Ocho, I wouldn't. If I'm a player, I'm serious. I mean, I've tried this with the likings of some of our friends before, having sex before a game, not having sex, if we want to get a little raunchy, but I'm just saying, I'm leaning probably more so I don't want my wife there that much, or I don't want to be around her too much. I don't want to, drain my energy into that. And that's real, bro. And there's been studies that it helps guys and some that it doesn't. For me, I just think those are some distractions in the keyest moment of my life. I don't need to feel people always talk about being relaxed. I think when these guys get through that first drive and realize they're just playing another game, yes, it's the biggest game, but it's just another game. That's when the relaxation of a psychological to your body will come to play. But if you smoke weed, if you gotta have sex before a game with your girl, like, hey, do it responsibly. but don't make it take you too much out your game where you can't focus or you're worrying about how many people you invited to the game and all the extra stuff. So I got to give that edge to Kansas City, bro. They just got back from that last year. So I think it's no different this year for them. A little bit bigger because it's in Las Vegas, but I think Andy Reid has preached to these guys, hey, for majority of the guys too, of the 53-man roster, it probably is a good 42 that's on this championship winning team. It may be 10 people that haven't been here before. So
yeah, I think that's a good place to close the show, though. I think that, you're right. I mean, stay focused, and that's some good advice. That's some good life advice too. I mean, I think that you gotta do what works for you, but you're right. I mean, if you're doing those other things, you're not focusing on what's really important this week. And that goes back to experience. And these young guys, will they be guided in the right way? Will they listen to the people who try to guide them in the right way? And then also the guys who are, you can't rely on grown men to guide you. They got to play the game too. They got to get right. They got to focus. They got to worry about themselves. So yeah, I mean, it's I don't think that Brock Purdy is that type of guy. He's grew up on a farm, but I do think being that young, he's always impressed me with his maturity, though. So I got to give him that. It's just you're so young. I mean, you're so young, and you're
I
at the
don't know
big
what farm
stage.
he grew up on though. I just heard you.
Yeah. Well, he grew up he's basically grew up on a farm. I don't know. He drives a tractor.
Where was this quoted?
This is all over Google Images.
Oh, I mean, he's from Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yeah, but he lives on a farm.
I guess. I mean, he may be Mormon, but I don't know.
He milks cows. Maybe Mormon. Yeah, no, he milks cows. He hangs out with chickens and stuff. So, but he seems like a down to earth guy. His maturity has never really been in question. I'm just saying, you're so young. You're at the biggest stage of your life. And yeah, I mean, you got to really focus. And I think for him, more than anybody, you're the quarterback of the team, of the other team. I mean, it's more pressure almost on him than anybody. You're still Mr. Irrelevant. How did you even get here? How did this even happen? And now you're going against the best quarterback, maybe in your opinion, the greatest quarterback of all time. And I mean, it's, will the lights be too bright?
You always said that Baker play better when the lights aren't on.
Yeah, I'd feel pretty good if Baker was. I was just real quick before we end the show. If Tom Brady was the quarterback of the Bucs this year, you think they would have been in the Super Bowl?
That's tough to say. I think not. I don't want to be disrespectful to Detroit. This Tampa Bay team was way different than when they won the Super Bowl from an offense and defense perspective. Yeah, they have Tom Brady, but in that game, I mean, it could have went. I don't know if they're getting the Super Bowl because then they would have to play San Francisco next week, but they could have won that game. Yes, for sure they could have won that game. But I'm not blaming Baker. He didn't play terrible. He made a bad throw at the end of the game.
Yeah, no, it's not a slight against Baker, but Brady's the GOAT. I'm just wondering, if he was on Tampa this year, if they would have gone.
I mean, they would have had a chance. I really think they would have had a chance. They would have been difficult because they don't have a better run game than Detroit. So for them to rely on Tom Brady, who can't run the ball, like even mobility as Baker Mayfield against San Francisco, I think they could have just peeled their ears back and just rushed him, and it would have been a long night for him. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I see that with Tom, even 2 years now out removed from the league, what he would look at 46. So it's like tough to say. But that is that. This is that. I did have a question for you. Are you gonna be tuning in tonight, man? The Grammys, man.
No, I didn't even know the Grammys were tonight.
Yeah, man, the Grammys are tonight. I'm watching.
I'll watch them though. Now you said that, I'll probably watch them before I go to sleep. I'll put them on.
Watching.
I don't really know a lot. I mean, the music there's so much music nowadays that it's hard to keep up with it all. I'm more of an oldies guy.
Yeah.
We've always been into old school music, even when we were young.
Yeah.
We are old souls.
No, for sure, man. I just, you just being an artist and being tapped into the music. Have you
Yeah.
ever looked at the Grammys as something where you kind of not gain confidence, or just, gives you a little edge or
I,
like
you know,
perspective on certain things? Was that important to you?
no, you know what? I always thought, like, I really have always kind of thought that the awards were kind of, if it wasn't fan voted, if the fans weren't voting, then I don't really know the importance of it. I mean, and that goes with the Academy Awards and all those award shows. If it's not fan votes, I mean, it's just some group of people who are, that we're trusting to tell us what's good and what's not. But there's a lot of good artists who win a lot of good awards, and I'm not taking, like, I know that there's great artists who win awards and stuff. Music is so like fluid and opinionated and critical that it's kind of like whatever, floats your boat and stuff like that. Also with rap and hip hop, which is, what I love most, they don't really get enough. The awards have always been kind of, you know, give them a back seat, even though it's the most like important, it's like the most popular genre in the world now. And so, yeah, but I'll probably tune in and, now and that I know and stuff. I think, yeah, I'm trying to think about the music that came out this year. Any new projects that dropped that
I
I
don't
know
know.
Benny the Butcher just dropped something. I'll have to go check that out.
I don't know who's fully in it, but I said this earlier in the year. I believe that literally who I just seen, literally, this is crazy. Exactly what I was gonna say before I even pulled up Instagram. I think this guy should win.
Oh, yeah.
I think he should win the Grammy for the album of the year.
I think he did. I think he did. Rap album of the year.
Yeah, he's up for the rap album of the year.
Yeah.
Literally, I swear to you, bro. I don't know, bro. I've been lately just very divine. Whatever I think, it literally comes up. I wasn't even on Instagram yet, and I pulled Instagram up, and that's who I want to talk about. Killer Mike. I believe Killer Mike, his Michael album. I listened to that from first song to the end, front to cover, hands down, bro. Like when you think about what a rap album should revolve around, it should obviously revolve around some authenticity, some storytelling, something that's gonna always some social commentary where it's helping us build on some shit that's going on in the world, some game about how to get money in some way, form or fashion, some culture where it's like, what are the culture things going on right now? And then just overall in general, obviously pay homage to our ancestors and whatever values. This album, bro, when I tell you, for anybody who hasn't listened to it, you're asleep. Killer Mike, by far, one of my favorite artists is now. I would put him in my top 50. I definitely put him in my top 50, but I wouldn't say he's my favorite artist, like top 10, top 15, but Killer Mike is underrated. He's a very great lyricist. He's a very great storyteller and visionary, like showing a vision and things like that. And just somebody who cares about the people. He does. He cares about black, white, drug addicts, pimps, hoes, all that. Like he puts great limelight on all of that stuff and doesn't judge it in a way of like, hey, no, this is how people get to this point. Let me shed light on it in a positive way. I think that's who needs to win the rap album of the year. So I'll be watching it. I'm finna cook me some dinner up, man, and I'll have it on in the background. See what they talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think he did win. I think I just saw it on Twitter like right now that he did win.
But
So
it didn't start though yet, did it?
I don't know. Maybe I got that wrong. But
Yeah.
I've heard nothing but good things from that album and lots of praises. So I gotta check it out. And I know that Killer Mike's incredible. I saw him live a few times, and incredible performer. Definitely, yeah, well deserved.
He's like a version of what's my guy from the Roots with the pick in his hair?
Questlove.
Questlove. He's like
He's a drummer.
Yeah, but he's like the South version of a Questlove. Like when you want to think, that's how I think about Killer Mike. Like somebody that stands for the people, wants to see, social injustice change in our world and our country. And then 2, he's just very talented.
Yeah, he's very political.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's awesome. Like, I mean, more, rappers and artists, pop stars, rock stars. I mean, if you're going to have a voice, use it.
You know what it is. I'm Life for D Green.
I'm Parlay Hunter.
This is Bro Best, another Bro Media production, man.